I'm all in.
Come on.
What's up, degens? Here we are on the first hand of the vlog. You already saw the title on this one, and we're getting right into the action. There's an under the gun raise to 15 and one call, and I look down at 6-7 of spades and decides to call, and the big blind calls as well. 4 ways to a flop, which comes 7-7-4. Pretty nice, I'd say. Under the gun C bets for 35 and the other player calls. I have this board pretty dominated and want them to keep feeding this pot without them knowing I basically have the nuts, so I just call and the big blind folds. Turn is a 10, no diamond, and the under the gun player continues for 50 and the other player calls once again with just 59 behind. Now I'm thinking, how can I get the rest of their money in the middle, and decide to make a small raise to just 150 to string them on, and they're probably not going to fold because they're donkeys. The under the gun player calls and the other player puts his remaining 59 in. Seems like the under the gun player has an overpair, so let's fade a high card. River seems safe when it comes to 9. I stick to my plan and go all in. The opponent seems pissed and flips over pocket queens, thinks for a bit, probably thinking how I can't have a lot of 7s here, but of course I do, I'm a degen. He calls the remaining 125 in his stack and we win a nice one to start off the day. Action doesn't stop there. This next hand we've got ace-4 of clubs, and I raise to 10 in the low jack. The button calls, then the small blind puts in a min raise to 20? Alright, I call. So does the button. Flop comes 8 jack queen, club, club, club. We've got the ace high flush. Small blind checks to me, and I bet 25. The button folds, then the small blind goes all in for about 100. Music to our ears. Only 10-9 of clubs beats us, so I throw in a chip to call, and the opponent shows the 10 of clubs and the 10 of spades. Alright, no 9 of clubs, and we win back-to-back all-ins. Sweet, clean run out. 2 hands up, 2 donkeys down. On to the next one. This one we're playing a double board bomb pot, and the flop comes ace 9-8 and jack 7-7. We've got ace deuce offsuit. It checks to us and we check back. Turn is 10 on top and an ace on the bottom. Big blind bets 20 and I call with top pair on both boards, and the button calls behind. It's unlikely someone else has an ace, especially when the last ace comes on the bottom board, giving us the nuts there. The big blind now goes all in, and now I need to decide what to do. I can either call or go all in myself. I know I'm taking half the pot, and I want the player behind to call with something like a jack for a straight on top, so I can chop half his money too and make a bigger profit. So I just call instead of re-raising.
I fold. Did you fold a jack? Yeah, I got an ace. Yeah, that makes sense. Did you fold a jack? I folded a jack. I'm just in my head right now. No, but that makes sense because you're gonna get quartered.
He ended up making a really good fold with a jack, and you might be asking yourself, like, why is that a good fold? He obviously had a straight on the top. Well, the other player in the hand also had a jack, so they would have been splitting the top board, so they would have got half of just the top, which is just a quarter of the pot, so he actually would have been losing money making that call, which is what I really was trying to get him to make, but good fold to him. This hand, we're in the under the gun, straddling for $5, which means we put out $5 before we even get our hands and act as a third blind. And we actually look down at a nice hand with king queen. The cutoff calls the straddle, and the button makes a small raise to just $12, which the small blind and big blind both call. The button can be opening pretty wide in this spot, and the blinds just called the small raise, so I know they're weak. So I decide to squeeze them out and piss everyone off by re-raising to 60. The button is really the only player who can have a good enough hand to call here, since he raised, but eventually he folds, and so do the other players. This is a classic spot that I love, where I can just take down over $40 without even seeing a flop, and piss everyone off at the same time. Now let's actually play a hand to a flop. +1 raises to 12, and I look down at ace-6 of spades in the hijack and call. The cutoff also makes the call behind. 3 ways to a flop that comes jack, deuce, 7. The pre-flop raiser checks, and I don't have much going on here, so I check and it checks through. When the turn comes a king and the pre-flop raiser checks again, I know he can't really have too much since he checked 2 streets, so I decided to take a stab and bet 20. Sure, the player behind can have a king, but I'm paying $20 to find out now, and sure enough, he folds. The other opponent calls, but like I said, he can't have too much here, so I plan on blasting the river and winning this pot. The river is a 10, and he checks to me, and I blast almost a pot-sized bet of $50 to get him to fold just about everything he has here. He thinks for a little bit, then folds, showing us he had a jack as if he was making a smart fold with second pair, and we just muck our cards so he can think that. Now I know some of you might be thinking, oh Josh, you only post hands you win, blah blah blah. Well, shut your mouth and just watch. We switch tables to move towards some action players, and that's about to change. In this one, we look down at King Jack of Diamonds in the big blind, and there's an under the gun straddle to 10. The small blind just calls, so surely they don't have any hand that they can withstand pressure. I raise to 40 to try and steal the $20. Should be enough to get them out, especially since the straddle hadn't looked at her cards. Nope, she calls, and then the big blind goes all in. He's got 103 in his stack, so I'm not folding for that price, but I kinda still want to get the straddler off her hand, since she just called my raise instead of raising herself. I raised to 200 on top to make it 240, and then she goes all in too. Fuck. She only has 313, so I'm not folding now, but I'm gonna really need some help by the dealer. Flop comes 9, 6, 8, turn deuce, river 7. We just have king high, and they turn over 10s and queens. There goes a chunk of our profit for the day. Guess we're the donkey now. We're pissed now, and we're trying to add to the action of the table, so I straddle for 10 in this one. The hijack raises to 30, and the cutoff calls, and these are two action players who are contributing to a lot of pre-flop raising and straddling that we will be attacking the rest of the night. We look down at our cards now and see the ace and the deuce of diamonds. Sometimes I'll call with this hand, sometimes I'll bluff raise. In this situation, I decided to raise since I'm pissed, and I pick a sizing of 120. They both fold, and the cutoff says he has jacks, and I show them my cards to let them know they're giving me way too much respect, and I'm here for war, which leads to some interesting dynamics for the rest of the night. So stay tuned. A couple orbits later, there's an under the gun straddle to 10 from the first action player, and you can't double straddle at Texas Cardhouse, so the +1 player, who's the other action player, just blind raises to 20. Now I look down at a hand I like, 69. So, of course, I raise to 60. The +1 player is the only one who calls. The flop comes King Jack 10. Not great for 6-9, but pretty good for the hands I could be playing this way, right? So when he checks to me, I bet 40 and he calls immediately. The turn is another 10, and he checks again. I do have a gut shot here, I guess, so I could improve to a hand, or I could just get him out right here with a bet. So I bet 100, and he snap calls right away again. I don't know if it was the fact that I bluffed him off jacks earlier, or that I was shuffling my cards like some Parkinson's patient that gave away that I don't have much here, but I think it's time to stop throwing away money now. The river comes a blank.
You're not gonna fold. This sucks. You got it.
I think he knows he's got it.
Yeah, he got it.
He flips over King 8, so yeah. Another punt that we just showed the table, and not even gonna say it this time. Okay, let's settle down now and stop blasting away chips with mediocre hands. This one, we're in the small blind, and we've got King Jack of clubs. The under the gun opens for 20, rather large, and then 3 later position players call. If I hadn't shown the table that I'm a madman at this point, I would love raising here, but I'm trying to settle down and stop hemorrhaging money, so I just call, and so does the big blind. 6 ways to a flop, which is a beautiful one. It comes 10 ace jack with 2 clubs. We've got a royal flush draw and middle pair. I check in flow, as does the big blind, and the undergun raiser continues for 35. It folds to the hijack, who re-raises him to 100. It then folds to me. I've got $275 left, and I'm fine with getting the rest of my money in here, but I just call instead to string along the other player so that I can give myself better odds to hit my draws. But he decides he's going all in himself, covering me. Fine by me. The hijack now thinks for a little, and he calls, and I've already made my decision.
Call. Everybody all in. I got a monster draw.
Yeah,
King Jack.
Give me the queen. Give me the queen.
Ace. Wow. Oh no. Wow. Wait, there's chop outs here.
Hold on. So we're, unless he hits a king,
He's
right?
kicking.
We're chopping.
No, his king kicker plays.
We're not done yet. I buy back in and win some pots before I look down at pocket queens. There's 2 limps before the low jack raises to 20. The hijack and button both call, and now it's time to capitalize off my image and raise.
You got 6-9 again?
Yeah, 6-9, let's go with that. One of the limpers calls, surprisingly, and then the low jack who called me in the 6-9 hand before goes all in. I already know I'm calling, but I don't want it to look like a straightforward call, so I can potentially get the other guy who limped and then called in, because I'm pretty sure that we have him beat. So I call, and he ends up calling as well eventually.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I think he has ace king.
We can't run it more than once.
I'm not looking good.
No.
Yeah, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll see. I don't know. I don't like him behind. We'll see. Maybe ace king.
Oh!
You got it, Nicole.
Oh, no.
9.
No. No flush.
Motherfucker.
Oh, good lord, dude. Kid hits a set on me. Oh man. All right. Well, we've got our image as a maniac. Clearly, I'm buying back in 300, and I'm gonna come after these guys. All right. I'm back in there, full stack, ready to go. Let's play some good hands. How about 6-9 suited? You know, it's suited this time. Whatever. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with this time. I think I was on a trail for redemption, but I raised to 15 and I get 3 callers. Flop comes 2 king 4, 1 spade. There's really nothing there for us, so we check it and it checks through. The turn is a 5, another spade now. So now we have a flush draw. Low jack bets 10. I'll call for that price, see if I can hit another spade, and I'm the only caller. And the river is a queen of spades, baby. And the low jack checks to me.
It was a nice check. I call. I got a set.
I got a flush.
Oh, good.
Redemption.
6-9.
This next one, we've got a great hand, ace king. Under the gun limps, and the +2 player then bets 20. There's 2 calls before it gets back to me, and now I'm gonna raise. I make it 100, and then the under the gun player literally says she's tilted.
1-3, you could, buy in.
And then calls. She had been calling loose with a bunch of kind of trash hands and just losing all night and just had to rebuy for 200 more. So I'm kind of fine with her calling. Everyone else folds and we go to a flop which comes 8-9 jack. This is way better for her range of like jack 10, pocket 9s, pocket 8s, pocket 10s, jack queen, like any of those type of hands, like middling hands. So I just check and she shoves immediately and I just have to fold this one. Between the last hand and this hand, I had been raising and squeezing a lot of, pre-flop, just limpers and just callers of raises, just to kind of keep the action going, keep my image going up until this hand. And I'd been winning a couple pots to build up my stack. In this hand, I actually have ace queen of clubs, which is actually a good hand. The action player in the hijack raises to 15 and the button and small blind call. Just like I had been doing before when I didn't really have the best cards, I'm gonna raise when I do too. I make it 100.
This is every time.
He's the only caller. Flop comes ace jack 3. I decide to get tricky here and check since this player knows I'm capable of bluffing. Let's build more credibility for that and go for a delayed value bet on the turn. He checks back and the turn is a queen. Now I've got 2 pair, so I bet pretty big to make it look like I'm trying to steal. I make it 100, but unfortunately he doesn't have anything and just folds. We don't have to show though, which is key for our image. So this next one, I've got pocket queens on the button. There's an under the gun straddle for 10, and the two action players, the first one basically blind raised for 20, and then the second one blind 3-bet for 40, and it folds all the way around to me, and I'm definitely raising.
$40. Alright. Every time that happens, I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, baby, every time. It's like in their head, they know they haven't looked at their cards, so I can like try and steal the pot. But I actually have a good hand here, so like I'm ready to go. Unfortunately, they don't have anything this time, but they fold and we literally win like $70 pre-flop. I'll take it. Now, the very next hand after that, the first action player is in the $10 straddle, and the second one is blind raising to 25 this time. And I've got another good hand, ace jack of clubs. The player before me calls the 25, and I'm gonna raise again and really test them. I go 125.
On board again.
And they all fold. And I win another almost $70. Totally fine with me, but most importantly, I'm like really starting to piss these guys off. I keep winning some pots and building up a decent stack of about 650 now, clawing my way back into this next hand, where I have pocket queens again. There's an under the gun straddle and one call before the hijack, who I've been battling with all night, raises to 25 and it folds to me. He and everyone watching already knows what's coming. I raise to 100 and he rolls his eyes as I've been raising him every time. It folds to him, then he asks how much I have behind, and then he just calls once he finds out the amount. Flop comes 4-2-9, pretty harmless, and I bet 100. He calls. Turn is a 6.
You're not gonna try to bluff me again, are you?
I bet 150 now, and he goes all in immediately. I think over the situation and call pretty quickly with my overpair. Based on the way I've been pressuring him all night, he could easily be doing this with a spade draw, a 9, pocket 10s, or jacks that are just tired of it. But he's got...
That's top set.
Let's go twice then.
Wow.
God damn, man.
Queen. Oh my god. Nice hand.
Oh, yellow.
Yeah. There it is.
Well, shit. That was fucking brutal. It's the next morning here. We're sitting out here. These fucking cicadas are annoying as shit. Don't mind them. That's just what happens this time of year in Texas or some shit. Yeah, we need to get some sleep and steam off. Forgot to record this outro. It was like 4 a.m. when we finished playing. It was like an 8-hour session. Table was great. We preserved like a super aggressive image that we were waiting to capitalize on, and you know, we were getting the right calls down, you know, like the when we had those pocket queens twice, you know, we got called by lower middle pairs. They just happened to hit fucking sets, you know, nothing you can do when you run like shit. So yeah, we were in for 900, out for 0. Ran pretty terribly. I don't regret anything I did. We donked off like a couple $100 with 6-9, but it got us those light call downs when we actually had the goods. That like kind of solidified our image. That's something that like honestly I don't mind. It just we just got unlucky when the time came to capitalize on it. So that is, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed the episode. I hope it was entertaining for y'all, because it was fucking brutal for me to play through. But, you know, I post my wins, I post my losses, trying to keep it real. That's just what it's like as a poker player. Gotta stay battle tested. You know, I think of every poker session, not as like a session in isolation, but as one long session, you know. Within each session, you can have some like downswings, and then you can run super hot in the middle, you know. I don't take it as I lost $900 yesterday. I take it as I'm up however much in my career. So, yeah, it is what it is. If you made it this far, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for watching. And I'm going to just keep putting some content out for y'all. Hopefully get some wins out there. But, you know, we're just going to keep going at it. Can't really guarantee what the cards are going to bring us. But yeah, that'll be all for this episode. Please feel free to throw me a like and subscribe. It goes a long way. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.